Good morning, everyone. Today is a solo episode, and I'm going to be talking about why life skills matter more than academics. Now, this is a big topic. So I've got my trusty notes. If you see me looking down, it's because there's so much involved when it comes to this particular topic. So why do we put so much emphasis on academics? Why do we preference academics over everything else? Why is it that learning can never be done outside the classroom? So let's unpack this a little bit more. When a child, specifically an autistic child, goes out into the world, they are often presented to go to kindergarten, and automatically they're met with, no doubt, dysregulation, issues with dealing with kids, being in groups, loud noises, sensory issues. There's so much to unpack there. And children are showing us that they're not coping. But as parents, we only know academics. We only know school. And so I want this episode to really unpack what it looks like for an autistic child and academics. Now, with academics, it's an interesting topic. If you really look at it and you would go back to the beginning, all of the accolades, all of the, you are given so much praise if you're getting the A+, if you are getting a TER of 99.9%, right? If you are achieving these really high grades, you're put up on a pedestal. But one thing I can tell you for sure is children who are autistic children, I should say, they are coping with so much more than just studying to get good grades. And when I say this, really hear me when I say that they are trying to regulate their bodies so that they can learn. And this is why it's so important for life skills to be the forefront runner than academics. Because I can guarantee you right now, if I was to quiz anybody on the street and ask them, do they remember what was taught in high school or primary school, the likelihood would be that probably not. They probably wouldn't remember it, but they would remember how they felt. They would remember how stressed out and overwhelmed and isolated they felt because they couldn't regulate their nervous system. Now, I don't know about you, but I speak to a bunch of mums every single day, and most of them are in tears, most of them are crying, and most of them cannot learn when they're in that state of fight or flight. Now, put that child, that same emotional feeling into a classroom where there's so much more sensory issues going on. There's bullies, potentially. There are so many things happening, and you're expecting that this child is going to learn. What if I told you that the child sitting down, the autistic child sitting down in their class, feels like that their skin is crawling off their body? How could you possibly learn? What if I said to you that the child who's trying to study for that test feels like he is studying in a nightclub? How are you going to learn? It's impossible to learn in those situations because there's too much going on. There's too much stimuli. I would never expect an adult to do and be put under the same pressures that children, autistic children, are put under in a schooling system. There is most certainly not enough breaks. There is most certainly not enough time to eat food and move the body in the way that it needs, rather than sit still, be quiet, cross your legs, don't talk, don't move, don't say anything, just learn. Our kids can't learn like that. Our kids learn by doing. Our kids learn by their interests. Now, it's all good and well if you're going to get, like I said, a 99% on your TER, which is showing my age because I'm pretty sure it's called something else, but I cannot think of it. It's going to come to me. But if they can't go to the toilet and wipe their own bottom, if they can't hold a conversation or have friendships, if they don't know how to interview, if they don't know how to greet someone, these things are pivotal. They are pivotal things in life. And the reality is that a person, an autistic person, can learn what you are asking them to learn. But first, their regulation system needs to be regulated. Their nervous system is the thing that's going to be able to move them forward. So we go back to it. Why life skills? Our life is based around life skills. I don't know if anyone recognizes that. Your ability to wake up out of bed, make your bed, go downstairs, eat breakfast, wash the dishes, get changed, get in the car, drive to work. All of those things are not things that you are taught in school. You are not taught how to do up a button. You are not taught how to tie your shoelaces. You're not taught any of these things. Yet we do them every single day. And most of us, the typical people that are out there, the typical children, are doing it without a second thought. They're doing it because it's just ingrained. Oh yeah, I've just got to do this. I've got to just do up my buttons. But for the autistic child who struggles with their fine motor skills to be able to do up those buttons, is thinking to themselves, am I good enough? Am I worthy? What's the point in even going to school? If you're walking out of the house with that kind of mindset, could you imagine what it would feel like to be in a school setting where there are so many other children who are so much more advanced than you, who are the same age as you, and make you feel like you are not worthy, that you are not worthy of sitting at this desk? Parents, hear me when I say this. Life skills will trump academics every single time. And the reason I say that is, take me back to primary school when we were rote learning times tables. I can guarantee you right now that if someone said to me, what is 9 times 5? Not 9 times. 9 times 9, I probably would get my calculator out. I'd probably look it up. Because they said, you're not going to have a calculator in your back pocket. Well, there you go. We do. We do have a calculator in our back pocket. Life skills will trump so many things because that is what our life is made up of. We're not walking around reciting the times tables. You're not reciting them when you go in for an interview for a job. You're not reciting them when you're in year 12. And yes, it is helpful. I am not saying, and please don't get me confused with this, I'm not saying that academics has no place. Academics most certainly has a place because we do need to read and write. We do need to know certain things to be able to function in this world. And no, I'm not saying that life skills are more important than being able to write your own name. No, of course not. We do need to know those things. But you cannot write your own name if you cannot balance your nervous system. The second part of this, the second layer of this is, as parents, we're conditioned into thinking that schooling is the only way. We're conditioned into thinking that if we don't send our children, they will fall behind. They'll fall behind. What happens if Bobby doesn't read at the desired age of what the teachers say that reading is supposed to happen? Can everyone just listen to that? Just listen to that. We're expecting students to all be on the same line, regardless of where you are developmentally. You should be reading by the age of grade 2. You should be reading X by grade 1. You should be able to do these things by the age of grade 3. Well, shock horror, we're all different. That'd be like saying to me, I want you to go down and do an accounting degree. Numbers and I, we're not great friends. We're not great friends. I would suck at an accounting degree. I would not know what you're talking about. Public speaking, on the other hand, I'll knock it out of the park. We're all different. And so to think that we're all going to be on the same line is preposterous, really. It's ridiculous. So letting go of the story that you were sold around your child has to be in school in order to succeed. I'm blown away by so many parents who I meet and see every single day who continue to push their children into school, knowing full well that that's actually not the best place for them. I am shocked to see when I go into classrooms and I see autistic children essentially being babysat in a classroom rather than learning, because the learning style that is provided doesn't work for them. Letting go of the story that you were sold means that you have to challenge a belief as a parent that you can succeed without schooling, or you can succeed in a different way of learning. But prioritizing life skills will see this child come leaps and bounds in order to be able to progress in their life. It's mind-boggling to me that we would expect children to all progress at the same level, and that you would think that, oh, Bobby's falling behind if he's not keeping up with the status quo. It's just not the reality of it. Does that mean that I am falling behind if I can't do an economics degree? No, of course it doesn't, because that's not my zone of interest. That's not my zone of genius. Why would I even bother going into an economics degree? It's not what lights me up. But for Sam over here, he's going to knock it out of the park. And thank God we've got Sam, who can work out what the hell's going on with our economics and what's going on with our accounting, because we need someone to do it. I really want parents to understand it, unpack that. And it's a hard thing to unpack. Challenging your beliefs puts a spotlight on everything that has come to date. It challenges your childhood. It challenges the way that you were raised. It challenges your parenting. And so many times, I've seen it so many times where parents are just like, nope, too hard. Don't want to do this. Too hard dart, too hard basket. Too hard basket to learn the things that are going to be able to move them forward. Now, I don't know about you, but prioritizing life skills is hugely important in the way that we show up. And when I say life skills, I'm talking about your ability to communicate. Some of our autistic children, our beautiful autistic children, struggle so much with their ability to communicate with their peers, with their family members, with their teachers. If you aren't regulated, you will not be able. Communication is the first thing to go. It will be the first thing that drops off, which means that you can't handle what's coming. What if I said to you, why are we not teaching our children how to regulate? I honestly wish that there was more talks about understanding our bodies. And yes, schools are doing this now. They are getting more on board with it now more than ever. But we need more. We need children to understand what's coming up for them. And when I say teaching them not to sit still, be quiet, don't touch, don't move, don't say anything, and I'm going to teach you this content and then I'm just going to expect you to know it. We need to understand how they're showing up. If you are emotionally dysregulated, you cannot advocate for yourself. Have you ever noticed that when you're a parent and you're ready to lose your mind because your children have triggered you in a way, and instead of being cool, calm, collected, I'm okay, I can co-regulate with them, I can be the force that they need me to be. But if you're already dysregulated, you cannot. There's just no way. So imagine being in a situation where we've got children, 20, 30 kids in the class, and they're potentially being triggered by 20 or 30 different kids for a variety of reasons, and we're expecting them to learn. It's amazing how we don't put life skills at the forefront. It's amazing to me that we don't teach money, that we don't teach the understanding of the human body. Like, I don't care. Unless you're going to be a doctor, my child does not need to learn about the cells, right? Unless he wants to. For what reason does he need to understand fractions if it's not going to be applicable? We teach so much in the academics world that if we just took a step back, if we just for a second said, is this going to be relevant in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time? Maybe we should teach them what that means, what life skills mean, what it means to share, what it means to safely cross the road, what it means to be able to regulate your emotions to not hit someone, what it means to understand how to write a letter, post it in the post box. I was asking some of my daughter's friends the other day. Actually, I was asking someone a little bit older. She was probably about 10, and I said, where do you think you put the stamp on the envelope? No idea. And most of you are going to turn around and say, well, hang on, who posts letters these days? True. 100%. We're always on email. But how important it is. What if I said to you that you could create a pen pal with a child to be able to receive something in the mail that was just for you, that was handwritten just for you? I don't know about you, but I love that when my girlfriends send me something like that. I get emails coming out of my eyeballs, coming out of my ears. I don't need another email, but a handwritten note, that's the thing that's going to move forward. Now, if we're not teaching our children these life skills, who is? Because I can guarantee you, parents are overwhelmed, they're stressed out. Teachers don't have capacity to be able to sit there and do life skills. So how do we expect these kids to be able to grow up and do the things that they need to do? Are we just assuming that they're going to get it just to get it? Are we assuming that they're going to understand that this is how everything is done? This is how you would cut with your fork and knife, right? When you're cutting your food. This is how you stack the dishwasher. These are the reasons why we take the bin out. This is why you don't leave uncooked meat on the bench for 3 days. These are the reasons why we teach the things so that they understand. No one is born knowing these things. And so if I have a child who is super smart, but can't go and get the groceries, can't meal prep, can't make his own food, we're going to have some big problems. If he can't pay bills, or he can't drive himself or get transport to his job, if he can't socialize with other children in terms of being able to build connections, that child is going to be so lonely. That child is going to be overwhelmed and feeling like a failure. And that is not what I want for kids. It's so much more. Life is so much more than that. I distinctly remember, my brothers aren't listening to this. I distinctly remember having a conversation. Oh, not me, sorry, beg your pardon, take that back. Overhearing a conversation between my mum and my brothers when they first moved out to university. And the conversation went like this: Mum, there's something growing out of the potato. Is it still good to eat? I still laugh at that. If no one teaches us, how are we going to know? How are you going to know that the food that the meat that you have cooked 8 days ago isn't good, and that if you eat it, you will most certainly get food poisoning? Life skills are so much more than the basic stuff. Life skills is essentially how we do life. If you don't know how to do life, you're not going to be able to do the things that you want to do. Whether you are an Einstein or whether you're not, it will not matter. It will not matter if you cannot do the things to be able to function. So I think more than anything, we need to change our way of thinking. As parents raising the next generation of children, if you have a neurodivergent child, not just autistic, but any neurodivergent child, life skills have to be at the forefront. Managing money can be taught as very young. I have seen and witnessed so many things when it comes to autistic adults spending huge amounts of money because they've been conned by other awful, awful people. We don't want that for our children. We want them to be aware of what it means, what money means. We want them to be aware of their surroundings. But you cannot do that in the schooling system with this idea that we need to push them harder so that they can be academically excellent. That is not how life goes, because I can tell you right now, all the information that you learn in primary school and high school, you will retain probably about this much of it. And I'm not even exaggerating that. This much was what you will retain. And then when you go to university, you will retain more because naturally you're older and you have the ability to retain much more information because it's actually a topic that you enjoy. We as a society put so much pressure on children, and we don't differentiate between whether you are a neurodiverse child or whether you're a typical child. You're just expected to show up and do it well. And that is just not the case. We are seeing now more than ever. If you look up the anxiety rates, they're through the roof. And yet we still keep pushing them back in, hoping that it's going to get better. And I see it so often where parents are so happy and so proud that their child got the award. But what happens to the child that's really trying hard but doesn't get the award? The child that comes in just over pass. Should they be punished for that? But if I took that same child and I put them in their zone of genius and they got 99.9%, oh, we'd all be ecstatic. Let's just pull back on academics a little bit. Let's teach our kids a little bit more. Let's not try to push so hard on tutoring. Let's not try to push so hard on what it means for academic excellence, because eventually burnout will be on the horizon, first of all. And second of all, we need these kids to be able to understand how to manage stress. What does that look like and how do you re-regulate? And if you don't have anyone to co-regulate with, how do you regulate with yourself? I can tell you right now, there are parents, Lord, I know so many adults, typical and otherwise, who do not know how to regulate. And their way of regulation is going to the pub to drink themselves silly, to go online shopping and spend all of their money, to go and go out on nightclubs and go out far too late, thinking that dopamine hit is the thing that's going to fill them. And yes, while you might think that dopamine hit will be quite good for that short amount of time, eventually life comes around and kicks you in the ass again and says, nope, we're still going. Your problems are still here. I hope this is resonating with you. I hope that you can see that life skills matter so much more than academics, because academics, yes, while important, are not the most important. If you cannot converse, if you cannot speak your mind and speak with your full truth, if you cannot advocate for yourself, if you cannot show up every day, how are you going to learn? How are you going to be in this world? Life skills are something that should be the priority, not as we'll just scoop it at the end and just hope for the best. Hoping for the best is not going to get you anywhere. We wouldn't say to children, oh, we'll just hope for the best about their reading or their writing. No, we sit with them and we work with them. So why aren't we doing that with life skills? And literally, you can go onto Pinterest, you can go onto search the web and type out, like, what are the life skills for your child's age? And it's funny because I did this the other day. I actually asked, what are the life skills for a 10-year-old? And I was looking at those things, and I was like, yes, he can do some. Would he have the capability to do all? Maybe not. Cool. Let's work on that as a need to go basis. So what he might not be able to do at 10, he might be able to do at 12. Showing them from a young age gives them a sense of comfort, gives us a sense of routine. It understands, it becomes a practice and a habit, so that when they move out, that they know it's really important to make the bed. It's really important to change the sheets once a week. It's really important that you wash your dishes. Like, being able to show up in a clean outfit, having showered, make sure your hair is washed, taking yourself to the hairdressers. If you're a woman, going to get all of your waxing and bits and bobs done. If we don't teach these things to our children, they're not going to just get it. They are going to zigzag through life, wondering why they don't just get it, wondering why they feel less than. I don't want that for my child. I want him to stand proud and say, yes, I know exactly what it is to show up. I know what it is to have a clean home and the reasons why it's important. I want to understand why it's important that I make a really healthy meal, why it's important to pay my bills on time. Where do I store my bills? They're just like a bit of everywhere. These things are taught from a young age, but if we don't teach them now, they will get to 17 and 18 and there will be different pressures. And then they may not want to learn. They might be like, I'm overwhelmed with anxiety. I don't know how to cope. I don't know how to show up. Academics is not the only way. It's just not. It is so much more. Life is so much more than that. And eventually you will get to the point where you will be able to narrow down on the things that as a child, what you really enjoy to do, whether you go to university or whether you take a course, you'll get to do something, the things that you really love to do. But again, if you don't have those basic principles, how do you show up? We can't afford to scrimp on life skills. Our autistic kids require us to teach them. They require us to teach them in a way that makes sense to them and understanding why we do the things that we do. And every family is going to be different, right? Whatever works for you, however it works for you. But life doesn't stop. And so we need to make sure I should also preference that we also know that this world is most certainly not made for neurodivergent people. So we need to make the extra effort to ensure that our kids understand how to show up in this world that's not made for them. Is it getting better? Slowly. We are making slow incremental changes to getting better. But we still need more. And we cannot rely on people outside of us to consistently help us. And this is where the validation comes from within. I really hope that has helped you understand why life skills are important. I hope it makes you think, why is this not being taught? And I hope it plants a seed for you to really look at the life skills that you could be implementing right now. Can you say, and I know this is going to cause a bit of havoc for people, can you turn around and say, well, you know what, buddy, we're not going to do homework tonight. We're going to work on tying your shoelaces. And we're going to continue until you learn over a term. That was one of the goals for my son this term. Actually, I should say it was last term. Learning how to tie his shoelaces. Now, people might say, well, what for? I just slip my feet into my shoes. I don't ever tie up my shoelaces. I'm a tying up shoelace kind of girl. I do not like putting my feet in and then just slipping them on. I want my shoes to be fitted around my feet. It's a skill that has to happen. And you can absolutely avoid it. But what if there are a pair of shoes one day that your son looks at and goes, oh, Mom, I want those shoes. They're amazing. Look at these, the colors, this and that. But I don't know how to tie my shoes. I don't know how to tie my laces. Does that mean I'm not as smart as the rest of the people? No, buddy. It means that we haven't taught you that skill yet. And that is something that we can learn right now. We want that intrinsic motivation to come in so that we can teach what's coming up for them. Real world experiences. Okay, cool. We've given you a $50 note. How much is the total amount? How much should we be getting back? Oh, but we use credit cards these days. No one uses cash. Cash is king, my friend, and cash is how you are going to teach mathematics to your child. That friends of 10, it's coming in with teaching how to receive change, how to round up, how to add. You're buying 2 cartons of eggs. Well, okay, you've got to do the quick calculation. Real world experiences is how we teach our children. It's not always in the classroom. What about if you go, the days of going back to Greece, right? And having the euro. Okay, calculating. Okay, so if something costs 20 euro, what's that going to convert to in Aussie dollars? Can we go to our calculator on our phone? 100%. But getting their brains to see why it's important is really cool. And you might want to start off with the phone so that they can get used to getting to understand, okay, well, 20 euros equals this. Cool. Well, if 20 euros equals this, then 10 euros must equal this. And so getting that understanding, that intrinsic motivation to want to learn. As human beings, we want to learn. We as humans want to learn. We don't want to learn the things that we don't want to learn. We don't care about that. We're only interested in the things that we like. And that's why you will see so many kids in schools, especially when it comes to high schools and in primary schools, if the topic is not of interest, they're going to start to move away, play up. They're going to talk to their friends. They're going to be distracted, looking up at the ceilings, doing all the things. Make the learning fun. Make the learning engaging. Make the learning and the reasons why behind it. I hope that this has helped you. I would love to hear from you, and please direct message me, email me, let me know your thoughts, because this is a big one. It's a big one in so many ways, and so many parents feel very lost in this situation. So many parents keep their children in schools for far too long, and it just doesn't need to be that way. I'd love to have a conversation with you if you're open to it. But until next time, I can't wait to speak to you then. Okay, I'll talk to you then, guys. See you later. Bye.